Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We have with us Nassim Haramein, who is one of the leading thinkers in physics across the United States and actually in the world. He's helped to develop something called the Resonance Project, and he's engaged a team of scientists to help look at and go beyond Einstein's thought. He has taken the unified field theory and others and has expanded them in a very imaginative way so we can come to understand the role of physics not only on a theoretical level but even applied to the world, dealing specifically with many of the problems that are facing us today, from an environmental situation even to social conditions in which we currently find ourselves. So it's really a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it was great having you call into the radio show some time ago.
Oh yeah,
from Hawaii.
I enjoyed that very much.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
so glad. Me too. I was really launched, you could say, and elevated by the conversation.
Wonderful.
We transcended time and space.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do.
Exactly. Why don't you give us a kind of an encapsulation? I know that's like a really hard thing, but you're skilled, and maybe you could do it in a way that our audience can grasp.
Right. Well, what I've done is I've looked at Einstein field equations and the way we deal with spin and angular momentum in our current physics. And I realized there was some deficiency in the way we looked at space and matter. And I realized that we had missed, well, we didn't have in our current physics the source or the origin of things. Like we didn't have the origin of the magnetic field, we didn't have an origin of spin. Basically the Big Bang just replaced the word God in our physics. When
the why question is actually dropped out a lot because nobody knows how to answer it.
Right, exactly. And for me that was unacceptable. I was really looking for the source.
I'm glad to hear that.
And I started to realize that when we look at the material world, we're really looking at 99.999999% space. And so we're really looking at a very, airy, spatial, if you'd like, material world. And it seems so dense to us. But in fact, it's only just slight electromagnetic fields that are colliding that is giving us that sense. And I started to think very early.
I realized that early on when physics was something that I just thought about. I went, my God, if you look at the space between, the proton, neutron, and the electron, all there is empty space.
Right.
That's why things actually such as Zen appealed to me, because I could come to understand the understanding of the void.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what most things are.
Right. Even between atoms, in like a molecule of diamond, there's it's very dense. Still, if you grew one of the atoms in that molecule to an orange size, the other one would be 2 football fields away. So there's so much space. And I start to realize, wait a minute, maybe matter doesn't define the space, but space defines matter. Maybe it's the space that produced the effect that we call matter, which is basically just a little jiggle in the space, a little spin of the space. And so I start to look at the space in more detail. And, I studied a lot of physics, some 20 years, and, looked in details as how we deal with the electromagnetic field, the gravitational field, and it started to come clear to me. Like, for instance, Einstein used space and time to curve it to create gravitational field. I found out that at the quantum level, when they look at the space is not empty, but it's actually full of energy. Vacuum fluctuation it's called, or zero-point energy, and that this fluctuations are not trivial. They're like infinitely dense, and then they're renormalized to a number that they can deal with, which is 10 to the 93 grams per centimeter cube, which is more than if I took all the stars in the universe that we see in billions of galaxies and stuck them in a centimeter cube of space. still that wouldn't add up to 10 to the 94 gram or 10 to 93 grams per centimeter cube. It would be 40 orders of magnitude smaller in density if I took all the stars in the universe and put them in a centimeter cube of space. So it was clear to me that maybe it's the other way around, that it's the space that creates matter. And I started to look at the space in a different way. You know, I'm very dyslexic, so I have a tendency to flip things around, so it was easy for me.
Very funny.
And I started to think, well, maybe there's there's a little bit of structure in the space. There's a little bit of coherency in the space, that these fluctuations in the vacuum are not completely random as described in current physics, but they actually, there's areas where there's coherency and there's structure, and where there's coherency and structure, all of a sudden, basically energy comes out of the space, electromagnetic field.